Welcome to The Outlet, an OTG production.
Welcome to the NBA Outlet, presented by OTGBasketball.com. Thanks for listening, whether it's on iTunes, SoundCloud, or YouTube. And be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at OTGBasketball. If you enjoyed the intro music, also check out Ryan Clark VA on Twitter. He's a great dude, has a lot of beats up on his SoundCloud, which you can find through his Twitter. So definitely check him out. Joining me, as always, Mr. Nick Fay. How's it going, my man?
What's up, Parth? I'm doing well. Just watch this Warriors and Knicks game. Knicks were in it for a while, but the Warriors pulled away like they always do. But back to the show. We got a lot of good stuff today. Our weekly recaps. Then we're going to talk about the OTG power rankings. So cap it off. I'm going to talk about something that definitely I've never seen in the NBA, and that's Blake Griffin getting in a fight with equipment people. It looks like he punched one of the members in the face, somebody he's close friends with. Blake broke his hand. I think he's out 6 to 8 weeks, so kind of crazy stuff. You don't want to see that happen. He lost his temper, and Blake was having a great season, and he was already out a few weeks with a quadricep, so tough loss for the Clippers.
Yeah, it is a tough loss. They've been really thriving without him, but that's kind of fool's gold in my opinion. Chris Paul's been playing incredible. DeAndre Jordan's been playing incredible. JJ Redick has been on fire from everywhere, but without Blake Griffin, I'm unsure as to how long the Clippers can keep this up. And it's really funny that Blake breaks his hand, because that just adds fuel to the fire and to the narrative that he has, that he's soft. So of course, breaks his hand on an equipment manager's face. Yeah, that's pretty soft.
Yeah, I guess Blake doesn't know how to punch, but you mentioned the Clippers have been doing well. Without Blake this season, they're 15-3. So they definitely done work. I know people even mentioned, are the Clippers going to consider trading Blake? That'd be kind of crazy. I remember last year in the playoffs, he was kind of playing like an MVP type player. At one point, I would say he was the best player in the playoffs the way he was playing.
Yeah, people need to stop with that. Should the Clippers trade Blake Griffin? No, they shouldn't trade Blake Griffin. You would never get equal value in return. And seriously, how would that make your team any better? You would fill maybe your wing position, which like the Clippers have had a revolving door at the 3 spot. But even if you solidify that, you're losing arguably the top power forward in the league. So there's no way.
Yeah, you're not going to get equal value back. And I mean, Blake, I don't even know if he's hit his full potential yet. So I'm definitely not trading him.
Yeah, if he ever figures out that he should shoot on the way up or at the top instead of on the way down, he might be a little bit better. But he makes those shots, so I shouldn't really say anything about that. So for my weekly recap, I actually just saw this a couple of minutes ago through Bleacher Report, and it's a Brian Windhorst article from ESPN. And the title of the article is NBA bans midcourt sideline TV cameras, effective immediately. So a little over a week ago, referee Scott Wall rolled his ankle when he was running down the court, and he tripped over a midcourt cameraman. And I believe Scott Wall had to leave the game. So LeBron James also suffered an ankle injury during Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals last season in Atlanta, when he kind of tripped over a midcourt cameraman. So I really like this change that the NBA is making. But I think it also leads to a bigger point and sets kind of like a precedent, just because they did it mid-season and it's effective immediately for the rest of the year. So yes, as fans, we won't get that low angle from the sideline sort of view that I think is actually a really great view. But in efforts to make player safety I wouldn't say more of an issue, but take action towards that, I think it's a great move by the NBA. I think the next step in that should be moving the camera crews a little bit back when they're to left and right of the basket stanchion. I think that's also another big time thing. I was really surprised that didn't happen immediately either when LeBron cut his head open. Was it in the finals that he did that? Do you remember what I'm talking about here?
I know what you're talking about. It was either in the Eastern Conference Finals or the actual finals, but I definitely remember.
No. I think it was in the finals because I remember Andrew Bogut kind of pushing him a little bit, and LeBron kind of sold it. And he sold it a little too hard because he ran right into the cameraman. But I think those cameramen should also be pushed back a little bit. We talk about player safety, and this is why your product is so good. It's the players. Another thing that I noticed, I think Zach Lowe brought this up a couple of years ago on one of his podcasts. If he didn't, I'm sorry to give Zach Lowe the credit, but whatever. I believe his wife was asking him, why are all these really tall dudes all bunched together on the bench and where they can't like spread their legs and all that stuff? Well, the reason is because the NBA wants to fit extra seats because those are big money seats. So in turn for a little bit extra money, the players are kind of cramped together in a smaller space. I think they should get rid of that too. Give these guys enough room to spread their legs. These are enormously large human beings, and they should be able to stretch their legs out. So I think that's another step the NBA could take. Will they take it? I don't think so because of the money that's involved. But that's another step I think they should take. But this also sets a good precedent to where, hey, I know there's a competition committee that deals with on-court basketball-related stuff, like Hack a DeAndre. But if you can change something like this mid-season and have it be enforced immediately, I feel like something like that with another obvious sort of thing we should be able to do that with that as well. So I really like this move by the NBA, and I hope it continues when it needs to happen.
Yeah, very true. I mean, it kind of shows their power whenever they think there needs to be a change. I agree. Player safety should come first. They definitely need with camerbacks underneath the basket. You always see guys making contact with them, getting fouled, landing on top of them, hitting cameraman. The cameramen get hurt too. And then, like you mentioned on the bench, those guys are all like condensed together, and they're huge. They're huge humans. So definitely want to give those guys some space, keep them fresh, stretch out their muscles. And like you said, they definitely could make a bigger move with this if they have to.
Right. Just wait till Steph Curry is going in for a layup and really rolls his ankle and really messes it up on one of the cameramen that are to the left and right of the stanchion. Then the NBA would kind of have to do it now that their poster boy, who has ankle issues or had ankle issues in the past, injures his ankle again. I hope that doesn't happen, obviously, but it's a possibility when the cameramen are that close.
Yeah, they definitely are very close, but let's talk about something different. On the OTGbasketball.com, we just released this month's power rankings. Definitely a lot of changes this month. We had some teams really take a jump. Some teams take a fall. Some of the teams that took a jump, we're talking about the Kings. They jumped 8 spots. The Grizzlies jumped 4 spots. Blazers jumped 5 spots. Any thoughts on those teams, Parth?
Well, the Kings, they're a tough team, man. They in their last 10 games, they're 5-5, but they've lost their last 4. So I believe when these rankings were released, they were probably just starting that losing streak. So what number are they in terms of the overall power rankings? I know you said they had a huge jump, but what is their end number for January?
The Kings jumped 8 spots, and now they're at 16.
That's a fairly large jump for the Kings. I don't think they're the 16th best team in the league, considering that they're in they're 10th in the Western Conference. I do like the Kings, though. I feel like they should be the front runner for that 8th seed, especially because they are healthy. The Trailblazers are coming out of nowhere, and the Utah Jazz have injury concerns throughout, with Burks being out, and then Dante Exum being hurt at the beginning of the year. So I like the Kings. Maybe 8 is too big of a jump for them. I am big on the Grizzlies, though. Jeff Green has been out of his mind the last couple of games. High 20s, low 30s. He's been balling. They're 8-2 in their last 10. Have a 3-game winning streak going into this week. So I'm high on the Grizzlies. And then I just mentioned the Blazers. They're playing really well, too. 7-3 in their last 10. Won 3 in a row, and they have one of the most exciting backcourts in the league.
Yeah, the Grizzlies, like you mentioned, Jeff Green's playing well. and they're kind of like flying under the radar. I don't think a lot of people are talking about the Grizzlies. They're kind of getting back to the top of that Western Conference. And like you mentioned, the Blazers, that backcourt is really fun. Dame Lillard was out for a while, but now he's back and he's cooking. So that's great. Now let's talk about some of the teams that took a big drop this month. We have the Heat dropping 10 spots, the Magic dropping 6, the Hornets dropping 5 spots, and the Suns dropping 7.
Yo, the Suns freaking suck, man.
Yeah.
They're bad. Losing Bledsoe really hurts. It's crazy to think that this team was so exciting just like 2-3 years ago when they had Dragic and Bledsoe, and then they just brought in Isaiah Thomas, and the ship definitely sunk. And just 2 years ago, we were also talking about Hornacek as being one of the best coaches in the league, possibly a Coach of the Year winner. And now it looks like he's going to be fired at the end of the season. So it's crazy how quickly fortunes can turn in the NBA. 1-9 in their last 10, and they're on a 3-game losing streak. So Phoenix, rightfully placed at 28. They've been bad.
Yeah. That's tough for a Suns fan.
Yeah, it is tough for a Suns fan. Shout out to Chris Stewart, by the way. He had to witness his Arizona Cardinals get smacked by Cam Newton and the Panthers, and now he has to witness the Suns meltdown. So shout out to Chris Stewart. I hope he's doing all right. The Hornets, man, it was just like a month or so ago when they were in the second spot in the Eastern Conference. They're 5-5 in their last 10. They lost their last 2, but they did get Michael Kidd-Gilchrist back. So hopefully that can kind of help turn around their fortunes and get them back in the playoff mix. They're only a couple games out. They're only 2.5 games out of the 8th spot right now. So, yeah. I mean, they'll be there. And same with the Magic. They were on a roll, and now they're 2-8 in their last 10. They did just win their last game, but even they are only 3 games out of the 8th spot. So everything's in reach, but just have to turn it around and kind of take that momentum into the All-Star break and post-All-Star break.
Yeah, very true. The Magic, I know, had Alfred Payton out for a little bit. They dropped some spots, but they definitely need to get their groove going. And the Hornets, I know they've dealt with some front court injuries. I know Zeller was out for a while. Al Jefferson's out. See if they can get back on that rhythm with Michael Kidd-Gilchrist back, because he definitely gives them a boost.
One team that you did mention that had a big drop was Miami, and I think they dropped 10 spots. They were at 5 or 6, which I think is a little bit high for Miami. But I don't know, man. When they're a really up and down team too. It's like the theme of the year. No one is really consistent besides the elite teams. I guess that's what makes them elite, right?
I guess.
But yeah, Miami, ever since Dwayne Wade was announced as an all-star starter, and even me, a big Miami Heat and Dwayne Wade fan, was like, hey, man, the Miami Heat don't deserve two all-stars. And they were 23 and 21 at that time. And he's been cooking as soon as that all-stars announcement was made. I know Jimmy Butler probably still should be starting over Dwayne Wade, but he's been putting on a show the last couple of weeks. So props to D Wade. I'm happy he got in. I'm happy Chris Bosh got in. No one penalized him for that. So yeah, they're 5-5 in their last 10, but they did just win 4 in a row. So I think they'll be rising. Hopefully they can continue it through the All-Star break.
Yeah, like you mentioned, though, Wade has definitely been cooking since that All-Star announcement. He's had some vintage moments. He's turning back the clock a little bit, and that's exactly.
I think he had a nice moment against your Nets. If you want to just talk about that.
I'm not sure which moment you're talking about, because I'm sure he probably had a lot.
Oh well, I'm referring to the one where he crosses over on Wayne Ellington and drops him, and then gets Brooke Lopez on a step back and hits the game winner. That's the one I'm talking about.
Hey, I mean, your Heat's that close to it.
Does that sound familiar to you, Nets fan?
I mean, we did beat the Heat this season already, and we're a pretty bad team, and you guys are looking for a deep playoff run, so you shouldn't be bragging about just hitting a game winner against the Nets.
Okay, that's fair enough, but still, that was a vintage flash moment.
I'll give Dwayne the credit, though. He definitely always kills the Nets, and I know whenever I play a FanDuel lineup and he's playing the Nets, I always grab him.
Dude,
So,
one thing I want to kind of go on a tangent here, but one thing I've always noticed about the Brooklyn crowd is they're never cheering on the Nets. They're always cheering on the other player or the other team. What's up with that, dude?
I mean, the last season definitely. I mean, there's not much to root for the Nets. I would say probably the best season their fan was when they had KG and Paul Pierce for that run with Jason Kidd. But other than that, the crowd has definitely had. They haven't had much to root for, so the Nets need to do something to build that fan base in Brooklyn.
Is it just because they moved relatively recently and Brooklyn isn't really into the Nets yet because they're not winners? What do you think the deal is with that?
I think that's part of the reason. I mean, they did move from New Jersey, so like the Brooklyn people, they have to show them something that they want to root for. I mean, the Nets have got to the second round of the playoffs. That's the best thing they've done. They haven't really ever had a superstar type player, that can really get that fan base into it. They haven't played exciting basketball really, so I think that's part of the problem. And it's in New York, so you got a diverse population, a lot of people from different parts of the country. So I think that plays into it. You see a lot of different fans, and hey, it's easier to go to a Brooklyn Nets game than it is a Knicks game. You know what I mean? Ticket price wise.
Yeah, well, maybe you guys get Ben Simmons and he helps turn it around.
Yeah, we had a pick.
You guys don't have a pick in this upcoming draft?
Well, we don't. Our pick swap with Boston, so
Is there any protection on that? Do you know?
no, there's no protection on it.
Wow. Oh my God.
Yeah,
No wonder your GM got fired.
yeah,
That's
exactly.
rough, man.
The only bet for the Nets is if they can get lucky in free agency. They have, I think, 40 million cap. I think that puts them like eighth most. So maybe they can make a move, but it's going to be tough unless they can grab a good coach and GM.
Does Joe Johnson come off the books too?
Yeah, that's why they have so much cap.
Okay, that
25
makes
off
sense.
the
That makes
books.
sense. That makes sense. But that was way too much time on the Nets. Way too much time. What do you have next, Nick?
Next, I think we should talk about the elite teams. I know we have at number one, obviously, Golden State. They did their beatdown on the Spurs. Then we got San Antonio coming in second, the Cavs at 3, the Thunder at 4, and the Clippers at 5. And then the Raptors at 6. I was wondering if you think the Raptors are ready to make that jump into the top 5. I know they're on an 11-game win streak, and that backcourt's playing great.
That backcourt is really fun to watch. I've been a big Kyle Lowry fan since his days at Villanova. That team was really fun, by the way. I just want to give Allen Ray and Randy Foye a shout out because those three guards were really fun to watch at Villanova back in the day. That was 10 years ago, dude. Wow, man, I feel old right now. But yeah, I think the Raptors squeeze. I think the next time you release these rankings, I think the Raptors are 5th and the Clippers, who are currently 5th, end up out of the top 5. I think that Blake Griffin injury really hurts them moving towards February and March. So I like the Raptors. I think the Raptors are fairly ranked at 6 right now. I think the Clippers are a little bit better, but I think the Blake Griffin injury hurts the Clippers and kind of paves the way for the Raptors to get into that 5th spot.
And I mean, the Raptors are going to be getting back DeMarre Carroll, I would assume soon, hopefully. And Blake Griffin's not coming back for a few weeks, so that definitely will catch up to him a little bit. And the Raptors are on an 11-game win streak, so I mean, they look like they're on fire right now, and they're going to keep that pace up, especially missing Carroll. When he comes back, that's just another boost for that lineup. Any other thoughts about the top 5?
I personally would put OKC at 3 and Cleveland at 4, but it's minor. I mean, it's not a big deal. That's what I would do.
That was very tight. So those two right there. So, I mean, I definitely could see OKC making that jump up, especially because they play in the West. And the Cavs, they did have that nice win against the Spurs, though. So it'll be interesting to see what they do going forward. I think Kyrie, Love, and LeBron all had 20 points in 2 straight games. So they need to keep that up.
Yeah, come on, David Blatt. Where you at? No, I'm just kidding. I feel for David Blatt. He got screwed.
Yeah. I guess, what are your thoughts about Tyronn Lue coaching the All-Star game?
I hate that. I hate it. Hate it. It doesn't make sense that – so, I mean, I haven't read much into it, but logically it just doesn't make any sense to me that Luke Walton or Steve Kerr wouldn't be coaching, but Tyronn Lue would be coaching. I get it. I know. I remember who was this? I think it was the inside the NBA crew discussing that. Hey, it's also for like the Cleveland assistant coaches. They get to go coach in the All-Star game as well. And they've been doing a good job. So I get that, but the fact that the Golden State's not coaching, at least their coaching staff isn't coaching, and Greg Popovich is now coaching in the All-Star game. I think it should be the same for the East. If David Blatt was there, he should absolutely be coaching. But now that he's gone and T. Lue is in the mix, I think it should go just like it did out west. I think it should go to the second team, and it should be the Raptors and Raptors and Dwayne Casey. And it's perfect that the All-Star game is in Toronto this year. So I'm really pushing for Dwayne Casey to get that spot. I don't think T. Lue gives it up or anything like Kenny the Jet Smith was suggesting that he would do on Inside. But I want Dwayne Casey there coaching because he deserves it too.
Yeah, a lot of people have mentioned that they were hoping that Casey would get the nod since Blatt was fired, and Lue's he filled in mid-season. So, but I don't think it's going to happen. But that would be awesome because it is in Toronto.
Like it just logically doesn't make sense that you would have one set of rules for the West and then completely ignore that for the East. I'm sure there's a reason for it. I have not read anything. So if any of the listeners know or have like a link or something, feel free to mention us on Twitter so we can figure that out. But yeah, it just doesn't logically make sense to me.
Talking about the All-Star game, any guys you feel like got snubbed or you were cool with the picks they made for the reserves?
So my picks were in the East were Drummond, Millsap, Bosch, Butler, Wall, DeRozan, and Kemba Walker. I just had Kemba over Isaiah, but I'm not mad at that at all.
I'll just shout out
I'm completely good with that. I think you had all 7, right?
Correct. I was pretty happy about it too.
Well done, sir. In the West, do you have any? I mean, obviously you don't have any beefs because you've got them all right. But in the West, I had Draymond, Boogie, Anthony Davis, CP3, James Harden. But instead of LaMarcus Aldridge, I had Dirk. And instead of Clay, I had Lillard. I'm not mad that Clay got in at all. I think Dirk should have gotten in over Aldridge. But I get the fact that because the Spurs are so high up, they deserve 2 All-Stars. I'm good with that. One guy who I know Boogie got messed up last night playing against Marc Gasol. He rolls his ankle and then I think comes back into the game, and then Gasol just takes this dude's ankle out again. And Boogie was helped off the court, didn't return. So I don't know if he's going to be out, and I don't know who replaces him if he does. I want to put Lillard in there because he absolutely deserves to be in the All-Star game. But I feel like if a front court player is gone, they'll just put in another big. I don't really know. But then again, Anthony Davis is glass too. He's made of glass, so he might get hurt before the All-Star game. So I hope Lillard gets in somehow. Obviously, I don't want anyone to get hurt, but if someone were to get hurt, I hope Lillard takes that spot.
Yeah, I think I had Lillard in there, and he didn't make it. So I'd like to see that. I mean, he's done a great job in Portland. I know we talked about this in the preview podcast that he was going to have to do a ton of stuff to make the Blazers relevant, and he's done that.
He's done that, and he's also gotten some big-time help from CJ McCollum and, to a lesser extent, Al-Farouq Aminu, who was really good at the beginning of the year. Haven't really kept up with what he's doing lately, but I think he's a better player this year than he was last year for sure.
Yeah, I think that whole supporting cast has really stepped up from the backcourt on. Like, a lot of guys you didn't expect to have big seasons have really stepped up there. So shout out to the Blazers for really getting the best out of their players.
And the thing, too, I get that Anthony Davis is probably a better player than Damian Lillard, but Lillard's if you were to look at the teams at the beginning of the season, you would say clearly the Pelicans were way better than the Blazers. And that's not the case. The Blazers are a couple spots ahead of the Pelicans at this point. So I would be all right with Anthony Davis not being in the All-Star game and Lillard being in there in his place.
Yeah. The only thing that makes it tough, I want to say last week on the podcast I mentioned, I think Davis is top 10 in points, top 10 in rebounds, and top 5 in blocks. So, I mean, with those kind of stats, it's hard to keep him out of the All-Star game. But I guess you can make the point his team is just not done well at all this season.
His team's not there, and Lillard's team, I wouldn't say is there, but they're better. He's also – hold on, let me look some stats up real quick.
Okay.
So I mentioned that Lillard should be on there, and Portland, the Trailblazers PR staff, I think they did this on Facebook or Twitter or one of those two media sites, social media sites, but he's the only player to average over 24 points and 7 assists and not be named an All-Star. So I know you said that Anthony Davis' stats were legit up there, but so are Lillard's, and his team's better. So I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I might take someone else off and put Lillard on. I probably would take off Aldridge though, to be honest.
No,
But
I didn't have him on mine. I know Ernie Johnson, when they did their show, he was the only one that had LaMarcus on there. But I think that's more, he's been good, but he hasn't been like Portland LaMarcus. And I don't think anyone expected him to be with the change into the Spurs style. But God, I want to keep him on, but just because the Spurs are the second best team in the West. But
yeah,
I don't know, man. Like it's so Spursy that they should only have one All-Star because everyone else contributes so much.
yeah, very true. And I mean, I feel like they kind of just like you said, did it to respect the Spurs, not because Aldridge having a crazy season, but more so they want 2 Spur players on there. I mean, if the Warriors aren't having the crazy season they are, we're talking about the Spurs all year long and the kind of year they're having. So
Yeah, exactly. So moving on from the All-Star game, let's get into games of the week. And last week I had John on, and he was picking for me, and he surprisingly picked the Spurs to lose 2 games last week. And lo and behold, they lose 2 games last week. Crazy. Did not expect that at all. But because of him, I went 4-1, and that brings my overall record to 39-22. And because of that loss, you went 3-2, and you are 31-30. So you're definitely still just right there, just clinging above 500. Hopefully you get better this week.
hopefully.
All right, so let's get right into it. This Monday, February 1st at 8 on League Pass, Mavs at Hawks. So the Mavericks have the offensive efficiency advantage, 103 to 102.8, barely any advantage. The Hawks are better defensively. They're about a 3-pointer better. They've both been bad in the last 10. The Hawks are 4-6 in the last 10, while the Mavs are 5-5. And it's a back-to-back for both of them. The Mavs played at home on Sunday, and the Hawks played away in Miami. And I don't think this streak is their win streaks. Well, the Mavs have won their last game, and the Hawks have lost their last 2. I don't think that's indicative of what happened Sunday night. But do you actually know who won? Did the Mavs win?
The Mavs beat Phoenix and the Hawks lost to Miami.
All right, so the Mavs have won 2 in a row, and the Hawks have lost 3 in a row. So this game's in Atlanta. Who do you have?
This is honestly a tough game. I really don't like the way either team is playing. I guess I'm going to go with the Mavs.
All right, I'm going to pick the Hawks. I think they get it turned around. Both of these teams are kind of middle of the pack in both their conferences, so they need to get their ship sailing in the right direction. So I'm going to pick the Hawks, but I don't really have any confidence in that.
Yeah, definitely go either way.
On Tuesday night, February 2nd, 8 p.m. NBA TV. This is the fan night game. Miami at Houston. Houston has a offensive rating advantage by about a 3-pointer. But their defensive rating is 6 points lower than Miami's. Their last 10, they're both 4-6, and I obviously don't think that includes the game that the Heat just played on Sunday night. This won't be a back-to-back for either team, and Miami's won 3 in a row. Houston's lost 3 in a row.
I'm going with the Heat in this one. I like the way Dwayne Wade's playing, like we mentioned on the show. And the win streak, I think it'll continue, especially after I like the win they had against the Hawks tonight.
Yeah, they blew out the Hawks tonight. I am with you on that. I'm picking the Heat too. On Thursday, the Raptors go into the Moda Center and face the Blazers. The Raptors have a 1-point edge in offensive rating. They have a 5-point edge in defensive rating. They're 10-0 in their last 10, while the Blazers are 7-3, so both teams are pretty hot. There's no back-to-back, and the Raptors have won 11 in a row, and the Blazers have won 3 in a row. This is a really exciting backcourt showdown. Who do you have winning this one?
I'm going to go with the Raptors. I don't think their win streak's going to end here.
I agree with that. I don't think it's ending here either. But I also think I forgot to mention what time the game is. So Thursday, February 4th, 10 p.m. League Pass, Raptors at Blazers. You got the Raps. I got the Raps too. All right. On Friday, this is a rematch of the first round series that featured a ton of injuries last year. Celtics at Cleveland, and this is Friday, February 5th, 7:30 on League Pass. Boston, Cleveland. Cavs have a 4-point edge in offensive rating. Celtics have a 2-point edge in defensive rating. They're both pretty hot in their last 10. Celtics are 8-2. Cavs are 7-3. Not a back-to-back for either team. Celtics have a 5-game win streak. Cavs have a 4-game win streak. Who's winning this matchup?
This is a tough matchup right here. The Celtics have definitely picked it up, and it looks like the Cavs are starting to roll a little bit. I picked the Cavs to lose against the Spurs last week. I guess I'm going to pick on the win this time against Boston.
You know, I'm going to go with the Cavs too. I was going to disagree, but I'll stick with you because this last game is a tough one. Saturday night, February 6th, 9 p.m., ESPN. It's a game of the year candidate. OKC at Golden State. The Warriors have a 3-point edge in offensive rating. Funny that it's 3 points, right? The Warriors. They also have a 2-point edge in defensive rating. Both teams are really hot. OKC's 9-1 in their last 10. Golden State's 8-2. Not a back-to-back for either team. OKC is on a 3-game win streak, while the Dubs are on a 6-game win streak. In the last couple of games I've put on here that feature the Golden State Warriors, they've been blowouts, absolute blowouts. So I hope this one lives up to the hype. Who do you have winning this Saturday night primetime game?
You know, I'm going to go with OKC. Just
All
because
right.
Steph said he's going to win this game. He already said that they were going to win and the Panthers are going to win. So I think someone asked Russell Westbrook the question of what he thought about that, and he just gave him like a blank stare. It's already a meme out there. So Russell looked pretty pissed. I'm going to go with OKC.
All right, so I thought you were going to pick the Dubs here. So that's why I ended up picking Cleveland. I'll stick with that pick, but I'm going with OKC too. I think OKC is winning the championship this year. So I'm picking them to beat the Warriors. And I know you just mentioned that Steph said that, hey, this is gonna be a great weekend. A win on Saturday for us and a win on Sunday for the Panthers. And I love that he did it. He did it. It's a little soft. Like it's not. I wouldn't say soft, but it's not what I wanted when I said, hey, we need more WWE type promos. If you want to check out the actual article on the site, I have a really good rock promo on there that I wish the NBA would do more of. I wish players would do more of. So you should check that out on the site. Just scroll down. There's a hyperlink there for you guys. But it's getting better. I like the shit talk a little bit. So I'm all for Steph saying that.
Yeah, show a little bit more competitiveness. I
just wish Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant didn't dodge the question. Well, I mean, Kevin Durant said he doesn't listen to that shit, but I wish they would have responded in like a WWF promo sort of way. That would have been awesome. I would have been totally down for that. But whatever. Hopefully we get it sometime.
Hopefully we at least get a good game. That's what I'm hoping for.
That too. I'm hoping to watch this game from start to finish. I really wanted to watch the Golden State San Antonio game start to finish, but I gave up in the second quarter. It was terrible. I couldn't watch this. So
Yeah.
hopefully this one lives up to the hype.
It's like so terrible. I had like a friend I was watching the game with. It's not like a big basketball fan. I'm like, yo, this is going to be like such an awesome game, Spurs versus Warriors. And then like we watch the game and it's not good at all. And I'm just like,
He's never
shit.
watching basketball again after that shit. My God.
Exactly.
It was so bad. I was really hyped for it, and it just was a complete letdown. I wish I would have watched The Bachelor instead. Screw it. Bachelor's good, dude. Don't judge me for that. The Bachelor's hilarious. But anyway, that's all I had for games of the week.
All right, that wraps it up for this week. Thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you next week.
Yeah, we'll catch you next week. Be sure to subscribe to us on either iTunes, SoundCloud, or YouTube. And just give us a follow at OTG Basketball on Twitter. Interact with us. You might get a shout out on the next podcast. See you guys next week.